There are significant risks as we look at the problems we face with regard to food security, especially going forward. Some of the most complicated and some of the most extraordinary challenges that the world has faced in all of its history.
Food chain reaction is an effort to put some of the major actors on this planet who have to deal with a global food crisis.
Food chain reaction was really to create these scenarios based on scenarios that have happened in the past, but how do countries respond to them?
We had 8 teams. We had 4 rounds spanning from 2020 to 2030.
Our real hope was that we would get players from all around the world to elevate a more global conversation among all of those different worldwide experts.
The game itself created an opportunity to live into the future. It caused people to think through what the possibilities are. And in that process, I think they realized what they have to start to do today to prepare for that future.
The challenges and crises that we were assigned are exactly what we expect to see in the future. So you've got famine, you've got increased pests, you've got the role of climate change in the world.
It's a world where it's getting hotter and it's getting drier. We're also seeing increased social unrest because of the volatility in the food system.
Food prices are going up 400%. We've got a flood of migrants coming in. The world is starting to fall apart.
Everything we do is going to have some negative effect.
We are going to have a pretty hard world to live in.
The new normal is volatility. The new normal is volatility.
The world needs stronger cooperation to meet the challenges that the future will throw at it.
As the momentums build up, there's more of a sense of countries stepping up to support other countries. If that could be the new normal, it would really be a game changer.
International cooperation on these kinds of issues is much more possible than people might think.
The world can get it right. The simulation showed us that we really need to get ahead of the curve.
Over the last couple days, we've learned that alone we can't do it. But together, we have all the confidence that this is a problem that we can solve.
Our guest today is the Executive Director of the World Food Program, David Beasley. He joins us from South Carolina. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you, Mark.
So the World Food Program is helping lots of people around the world, and you recently warned the United Nations Security Council that unless we continue our operation, the health pandemic, the COVID pandemic, will soon be followed by a quote-unquote hunger pandemic of biblical proportion. Aren't you exaggerating?
Oh, gosh, Mark, I really wish I were. But here's the situation. In fact, before COVID hit the scene, I had been warning leaders, particularly in the European area, that we were facing in the year 2020 the worst humanitarian crisis since World War II. And when you look at the Sahel deteriorated, Sudan, Yemen, Syria, Ethiopia, DRC, all the floods, the droughts, the conflicts and the wars, we were already facing a very bleak situation, and then desert locusts hit, and it's devastating in 4 or 5 countries as we speak. Then came COVID. In fact, 2 weeks ago, we just came out, when I was speaking to the United Nations Security Council, I had just produced the new numbers of the people around the world that were marching to the brink of starvation. I'm not talking about hungry people. There are 821 million people around the world today that go to bed chronically hungry. 135 additional million people are on the brink of starvation. Now, out of that 135 million, Mark, we at the World Food Program, we supported last year about 100 million people. Out of that 100 million, 30 million depend on us 100%. That's the only food they get. Now with COVID, our numbers are anticipating an additional 130 million people on top of the 135 million, bringing almost 250 million people will be marching towards starvation because of the economic deterioration from COVID, wars, conflicts. It is a perfect storm. I do wish I were exaggerating, but we are really looking at what could be famines of biblical proportions in multiple countries, and especially in Africa.
No way, Paul!